So did you know, I've learned something this week, did you know that apparently Māori are not indigenous, go figure, and also face moko, tā moko on the face are just scribbles. Did you know that, Chewy? And I should say that is according to Winston Peters.
Meanwhile, Christopher Luxon is still leaving a pathway to power for Winston Peters, despite nearly half the country wanting him to rule the NZ First leader out.
That's despite Peters stating that Māori aren't the indigenous people of New Zealand.
Yeah.
And describing
We've all
Māori
learned something.
co-leader Rawiri Waititi's facial moko as scribbles.
Fuck.
Political reporter Amelia
He's
Wade
going to get
has
his
more.
ass beat.
Christopher Luxon wooing these lovely seniors.
And Nicola will be our finance minister.
But there is another senior which is causing Luxon headaches. Winston Peters.
That was a National Party constituency there, just in case you're wondering.
Wow.
Has found a new dog whistle claiming Māori aren't indigenous to New Zealand.
Māori, in their anthropological statement about themselves and their whakapapa back to Hawaii. That's where they were indigenous to.
I also want to know who Lurch is here in the background. Who the fuck is this dude? Lurch, you rang.
Can't be indigenous to two places.
Māori are indigenous to New Zealand. That's pretty simple for me.
Peters is now also making fun of Te Pāti Māori co-leader Rawiri Waititi's tāmoko.
And as for the Māori people of this country, with all that fellow with the scribbles on and their cowboy hat on.
Winston Peters has been put out to pasture.
Great line.
The great worry, of course, is that he's going to jump the fence and get back in.
Why?
Okay, so let's just settle this once and for all, right? To be indigenous does not mean that that is the only place you have ever been. For all the people who are saying, oh, boy, you're using the UN description, I am, because the UN description makes sense. So in a nutshell, to be indigenous to a country, you need to have been there pre-colonization and still be there represented today. They're kind of the two factors to be classed legally as indigenous. And for all you people who are saying things on my Twitter today, like, no, that's not what the word means. It means of that land and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. If we use your description, there's no one in the world who's indigenous. Because originally, they say, we all came from Africa, which means that means I must be indigenous to Africa. Because if it's from where you originated, originally everyone came from one place and started moving out. So whether that was 1,000,000 years ago or 1,000 years ago, it's the same principle. In law and in sensible practice, indigenous means on a land pre-colonization and still have a representation today. That's why the whole conversation goes with Māori, and people ask about other groups came here, like the Celts came here, and I saw someone say the Vikings came to New Zealand. So, well, if they did or if they didn't,
Came on a UFO, Pat.
They didn't have representation after the treaty was signed. So it was the people who were here pre-colonization, who were here through colonization, and are still here today. That is Māori. That is actually the end of the conversation. And what this does by Winston Peters is it just gives credence. I don't know if you have noticed it, Chewy. It gives credence to all those far-right racists. And I don't label people very much, but I will this time. Racists, it gives them the right to voice these opinions for two reasons. One, it's being said by a politician, and two, it's being said by a Māori politician. And so now they feel emboldened to bring out their disgusting racist views, and it does nothing but harm Māori. And I think harm everybody, actually, because it's the Māori identity is part of the New Zealand identity. So if you're a New Zealander, it's a part of your identity. It might not be part of your blood or part of your whakapapa, but it's a part of your identity if you are Māori.
100%. Yeah, look, Winston Peters is to politics what Billy T. James is to comedy, right? It's an excuse for racists to go off. And his whole position that Māori aren't indigenous, the whole reason that example exists means that they don't have any special rights. They arrived here just the same as us. So therefore we can start having that conversation. And it's just bullshit. It's like, this is why I prefer the term First People. It doesn't come down to some
First Nation, like in USA,
Nations.
First Nations. Yeah.
Yeah, and it doesn't come down to some mysterious timestamp. Like Winston seems to be fine with Aboriginals being described as indigenous because they've been there for 50,000 years or something like that.
But they would have come from somewhere else originally.
Yeah, exactly. But like it's this movable goalpost for Winston that Māori aren't indigenous. So draw your own conclusions. I'm just asking questions. Fucking bullshit. And as for saying tā moko is just face scribbles, he's an old man.
Yeah.
If someone pushes him, he's staying down. So I mean, I wouldn't be running my mouth like that. What an ignorant thing for someone of Māori descent to say.
Yes, I agree, Fumiko. Pardon me. I apologize. I do like what James Shaw said, and this has got 60 seconds, so we'll jump back into it, that he's been put out to pasture. Unfortunately, he may be able to jump himself back over that fucking fence.
TT opted out of giving an interview because he didn't want to give Peters any energy.
Good on you.
Luxon, though, has the energy to continue to resist ruling out giving Peters any power.
So here's the next thing, right? Yeah. Will Winston Peters be in a government with National and ACT? Luxon is refusing to rule him out. Now, remember, before I play this, he's ruled out the Māori Party. So there are some political parties that he will choose to talk about before election night. But now he's trying to fob everyone else going, well, no, this is not a conversation for now. This is a conversation for election night. No. You don't get to play it both ways, Mr. Luxon. You're comfortable enough not to say that about the Māori Party because it played good to your base. And equally, you're not saying it about Winston because it plays good to your base and you might need him. So that dude, Winston Peters, might end up being the balance of power, which he's been before, and Luxon can't rule him out, even though he's trying to say we don't do that pre-election, even though he's done it pre-election to the Māori Party. Have a listen.
I'm not getting into any post-election night.
He could be your deputy prime minister.
Of course not.
What I'm saying to you is I am focused.
I'm not getting to any post-election. No, hang on. But you have. You have already. So that means you're making a decision not to on Winston. That means Winston is a viable option for you, Mr. Luxon.
As leader of the National Party on delivering for the
Look how much disgusted Chewy. He ran away. It disgusted him so much.
New Zealand people.
A lot of those New Zealand people want him to.
This is
In our
interesting.
latest News
Check
Hub
this out.
research poll, we asked, should Luxon rule out forming a government with Peters? 43% said yes. Nearly 37% said no, don't do it.
I don't personally think he should rule him out.
Oh, Winston, yeah. Oh, yeah, he's a bit of a devil, really. I don't like him. I think he's equivalent to Donald Trump.
In looking at his own base, national supporters, there was even stronger support to
Interesting, eh?
rule Peters out.
So amongst national voters are sending a signal more strongly than the general population that they want to rule him out. And that's because in the other stats, that includes all the cookers, all the anti-vaxxers are in the other one as well, who don't want to rule him out. But if it's purely national voters, then they want him ruled out. Like you can only say basically a third say don't rule him out. The rest are either yes or don't know, or neither. It's a really interesting stat, that.
46% said yes and 37% said no.
Does that change your mind?
Again, he's not in Parliament, not above the thresholds, and hasn't been a thought for me.
Hasn't been a thought for him.
Oh.
It's funny, eh? Hasn't been a thought for me where other parties have. Right. Your thoughts? Anything around that, Chewy? You want to chuck anything out there?
Do you know what I was thinking the other day?
Funnily enough, I don't.
As a teenager, this is a brag for me, I'll be honest. As a teenager, I won Letter to the Editor prize, writing to the Timaru Herald. Thank you.
I'm so proud of you.
I was a very verbose, politically motivated, and well-spoken teen. The letter I was writing was how Winston Peters is a shadow of an old New Zealand that we don't need to hark back to anymore. And here I am now at 43, and I feel like I could write that letter again.
Oh, dude.
And I just want to run a pen through my eyeball that is even a thing. Like, he just dredges up just the worst things, and he just needs to retire, take his pension, his lifetime of free travel, his stipend or whatever he gets for being an MP for 400 years, ride his horse around his backyard and leave the rest of us to it.